Hi, welcome to ETRetailCafe by ETRetail. We are on a journey and we are really enjoying it. Hope you are also enjoying the way we are enjoying it. As you know, the retail industry is transforming and the major role is played by the malls. And when we are covering retail, how can we forget not covering DLF retail in particular? So today we have us Pushpa Bector, who is heading DLF retail malls here in India. And I want to know about you from Pushpa, how the journey started, how did you enter the retail sector, what excited you to be a part of this industry?
So thanks, Charu, for inviting me. This is a nice way to start the day. What I want to tell you is that when I started out as a hotelier in the Oberois. But I realized very quickly that retail is the way forward for me because I like transforming things around, and brands attracted me. And so I quickly moved into the brand space. I was with Domino's Pizza when it first entered the country. And then ever since I have been in the brand space, I opened Funky Orbits, which is the first drop-and-shop chain. I was the CEO of that for Apollo International. It's the first drop-and-shop chain introduced in a mall, and it was in the first mall, which is Ansel Plaza. So you can call it destiny, you can call it planning, but retail attracted me, and retail I knew will do very well in this country. And I loved opening new stores in Domino's Pizza, looking at how people change their lives, when we introduced that, no one knew the concept of a pizza. A pizza was Nirula's Pizza. So we had to educate and market. So that was an interesting thing, and I loved doing that. I loved the impact that it had on society. And so I've been with retail. Post that, having been within the retail space for almost 10 years, I moved into the retail real estate space because I knew malls will be the way forward. I had seen what's happening at Ansel Plaza in Phoenix, the erstwhile Phoenix, High Street Phoenix, and when Funky Orbits opened there too. So when the opportunity arose to come back into the retail real estate space, who else but DLF, and here I am.
So how has been your journey with DLF? I mean, what are the changes that you have brought over here? Something that excites you daily to come to the work. You have been with the branch for somewhere around 17 to 18 years now. So what excites you to come to the office daily and bring the change around?
Charu, DLF malls as a concept has grown organically. When I first took over 17 years back, I actually just established the food courts. There were no food courts in DLF. So I said, okay, let me do that. So within a year, I had established 5 new food courts across the new malls which were just coming about. And then, these were the first new leased malls. Earlier, we used to sell malls. So when the leased malls came in and we started doing this, I looked at how malls can be repositioned to how it was earlier. So that's how DLF Promenade happened, where I took over as the mall head for it after establishing the 5 food courts. So I can tell you this, in these 17 years, no 2 years or 3 years have been constant. I've always sort of destroyed what I did and changed into something else. And that's what keeps the interest going, right? You've got to challenge yourself. You can't just be beating around and doing the same thing. So post creating Promenade for 3 years and established it as the fashion destination for the country, I knew I had to go to the next level. And when the opportunity arose to do a greenfield project at Noida, I grabbed it. I knew it would be very tough. That project was in the making for 7 years, I think, at that point. And it was in construction phase. And I knew in order to create something new in that region will need a lot from me. But as I say, there is no gain without pain. And I'm one of those people who believe in that. And I said, okay, let me take this on. But I wanted a greenfield opportunity. I wanted to create something from scratch and to create a market which India hadn't seen. So I went into it with full passion, dedicated almost 5 years of my life to that, where we leased it out. Way before the mall opened, we had leased out 80% of the mall. And we created a wish list mall. We said, how do we zone the mall? How do we create something very radically different to how malls were sort of planned. And so, what really keeps one going is that you've got to constantly ask yourself, what are you value adding to the city, and our passion at that point in time, mine and my team's, is that how do I transform East Delhi and the way East Delhi was, how does the quality of life improve over there? And I must say that we were humbled by the sheer adulation and response that we got. We created huge employment, because no one had thought that a mall could have 450 brands in one house. No one knew there were 450 brands, so we actually expanded the market then times and said, okay, let's create a second level where all the Indian brands will come in for the first time. We were the ones to encourage made in India brands. We encouraged it way before it became the, pet subject for the government. We had actually done that at that point, and we said there's so much of richness in textile, richness in what we bring to the table, and those shopkeepers actually had a lot of zest for business. They were just not given the right platform or opportunity. So we handpicked them, we got them in. Of course, we had 2 levels of international brands, and we had a zone for F&B. So with this whole zoning, people started seeing the ease of shopping, and we gave them that ease, but we also gave them a huge experience, which they hadn't seen earlier. People would go to Dubai Mall, and we said, why not India? And so I think that larger than life project of Mall of India kept us all busy for 5 years. After that, as I said, I keep changing. So then all the malls came under me, and I moved to, Gurgaon, and I started looking at shopping malls. Then, pre-COVID, I also looked at all the luxury malls. And so again, there was a change. When I took over luxury, COVID happened and everything got disrupted. So yeah, I will tell you that story over the next few minutes.
What was a life-changing decision that actually helped you think over what I'm doing, what should I be doing, and what is the course of the life going to be like going ahead?
We all, our personal life and professional life kind of get blended, and sometimes one impacts the other, right? So I would say the millennium, which is 2000, when Y2K happened and all that, was one of the worst years that I've ever seen. And I was in a job after Domino's Pizza. I didn't like it one bit. Moved to Canada. Canada was terrible. I mean, I actually migrated there and I just didn't like it, and came right back. So that whole 2 years was a year of experiment and failing. But believe me, Charu, I always say failure is very necessary for you to really get yourself back on gear, understand your life's P&L. In fact, I tell my kids, I said, always look at what's your life P&L, what is it that you feel you want to do? And those answers come when you fail. And so I did, came back to the country, and that's when I joined Funky Orbits as the CEO. And I must say, once you have these kind of experiences, I came back as a single mother. I knew I had 2 kids to educate. I went on headlong into what I had to do for them and for myself. And frankly, there's been, by God's grace, no looking back.
So it didn't dampen your spirit. I mean, the failures didn't dampen your spirit.
No, it didn't. In fact, it propelled me to do better. And I always have this adage, impossible situations propel you to do impossible tasks.
So how have you seen the mall culture and the retail sector changing from past 23 years that you have been to the retail sector? Have you seen it evolving over the years?
See, retail in front of our eyes has evolved so beautifully. First, the customers were wowed by the first organized properties that came in. But customers ran faster than we could, and they had started traveling. The exposure was phenomenal all through 90s and 2000s. I think the exposure was phenomenal, and their expectation was very high, and we had to gear up to meet those expectations. And I would say that that during that period, the organized retail, these mall spaces came up. People started, many developers started creating good malls, and then came the thing of online retailing. And so, when we were opening Mall of India, and online retail was at its peak at that point, and I was often asked this: you're opening the largest mall in the country, but online retail is going to take over. And I always would tell them, listen, Indians, we like to shop in groups, be it with family, be it with friends, be it with husband, whatever. We like to, we don't do singular shopping. We like that whole sounding off. It's an event. So, and I know that when things are an event and we love to eat out, we are a community-led people, right? And so online retailing works really well, but in for certain categories. And I always have been of the belief that this is omni-channel along the way. People will choose either online or offline, as the case may be, and whatever works for them at that point in time.
So you have been into the retail industry. You must have seen build the malls and brought the changes in the culture. To be honest, so what sort of challenges did you face during this course of action, and what are the learnings that you are adopting here at DLF and helping DLF grow further?
Listen, I think in terms of technology, the adoption in the mall space has been slower than what it should have been. And that's a challenge, okay? And brick and mortar, typically people have not evolved very quickly with technology. And look at it, look at our e-commerce platforms, they're so way ahead. Why can't we get some of those elements of, digitization, which will help? But things are changing now. Digitization is, now coming into the mall space in a big way. We are talking about building smart buildings and, far more technically proficient, that we save energy, we reduce carbon footprint. It's important to understand that we should not increase carbon footprint, and what are the measures we can take right from the beginning and create sustainable platforms. Today, as DLF, I'm happy to say, you can see in the front page today that we are US LEED certified for absolutely zero wastage in water. So we are LEED zero, which means that whatever water we are consuming, we are able to give back. There is recycling that is happening. So I think the way forward, even from a consumer lens and otherwise, we need to be far more aware of what is the carbon footprint we are leaving, A, and B, also how can we look at technology to improve customer experience. The moment we do that, these two are, I would say, challenges. Earlier there were challenges like, are there enough brands? But I think those challenges are of the past, because look at the number of brands that are generated within the country. There's such a huge startup culture today. Everyone's got a completely new, fresh idea and they're coming up. So those challenges which were there earlier is no longer there. Now it's how do you manage it? How do you create products which are talking to the futuristic millennial or Gen Z?
When you talk about technology, technology is actually changing a lot many things. What if technology takes away your job someday? What will you do?
I'll create a very nice, sustainable brand.
Oh, yeah. So you will stay in retail only.
I will, because this is my life. This is where I found myself. So I'll certainly stay here. But there's so much more to do in life, I'm one of the persons who thinks that, hey, if my journey is over, then there is something else that's beckoning me, which is even larger, better. I don't feel, sort of trapped into anything. And I think that's the beginning of something definitely new, exciting, and who knows, maybe the next unicorn.
Oh, nice. You dream of developing, maybe making a unicorn company of your own.
Well, never say no.
So tell me one more thing, Pushpa, that we have seen that lots of D2C brands are cropping up these days. They have come up during the COVID times, and now they're becoming omni-channel brands. So what do you prefer at your malls, the new age brands, or maybe the retail brands which have been here in India from a really long time, or the international brands? What is your choice of brands when you bring the brand mix to the mall?
See, I don't think there's a single answer to that, okay? It depends on the product. we are very particular to see what is the product type that we are doing and what are we catering to. So if you're creating plazas, which is open air plazas that we're creating as anchors to our residential colonies, it would be convenience, it would be services, it would be brands which are casual in nature. So the product mix is very different. In a mall, if it's a destinational mall, the product mix is very different. It should have an answer for every category. You can't just ignore a category, you know, you've got to cater to all. And I don't mean category by just say millennials or kids or adults. It is also to do with different types of customers, you know, people who are into sustainability or vegan, or they're into, say, high consumption of Western wear. We need to answer to all kinds of people. So to me, a product mix is a blend of that particular product, that particular location, and what's the need of that location. But on an overall basis, I can say we look at D2C brands also. We give opportunities through pop-ups and understand if the D2C brand is working. There are 3-4 pop-ups getting fitted out right now. So we always look at D2C brands, and sometimes they surprise us with fabulous trading densities. Then they get permanent shops. And I think today the Indian consumer is ready to explore newer things. They are not just stuck on one brand or two. They are ready to explore, be it food or be it clothing or be it any accessory. There's so much of a plethora, so we need to offer them that. You know, we are, as I see it, a physical platform. And so the platform should have a lot of choices.
That's nice. I want to know the values that you have built in the team for the past 17 years, which has helped DLF grow to new heights here in India.
See, I can say one thing clearly. The only constant in retail is change. So the team has to be catering to that change. So the one value that I definitely instill in my team is to be aware of changes, A. B, I'm a very open person as a leader. So I like new ideas being thrown. I like debates happening, and I like people saying, ma'am, I don't think that will work. Probably this will work. And sometimes great ideas come out of very young voices because they are much more close to the ground and they understand the change. So I'm a keen listener when it comes to change. And I think in retail, that's what will keep one ahead, because otherwise, if you're sort of sitting on your laurel, you will get swept under the carpet.
That's very nice. And there were so many learnings that we are actually grabbing from whatever you were saying right away. So Pushpa, what is going the course of malls going ahead? I mean, do they have a bright future? How they are going to shape up? What new things are going to come up to add to the glamour of the malls going ahead?
So I do believe that the next 10 years, okay, let's talk about India. India as an economy, it's coming of age. We're already the 5th largest. We're going to be the 3rd largest, and it's going to happen by 2030. It's very clear. So the first thing that will happen is rise in consumption. So this next decade for us is really the decade for retail. So the more we expand, the more we are able to cash in on this very important, crucial period in the, I would say, transition of the Indian economy, we will benefit. So the next 10 years is not going to be all rosy. At the same time, it's going to be very interesting because one sees growth. One sees millennials are going to become 40% of the population. Gen Z is catching up, and that's a digital generation. So I think it's very clear that people will discover things digitally and then move into the physical space. That's the way it's going to be. And we are going to be at the cusp of it. And hopefully at DLF Malls, we are going to be leading this all the way.
Oh, nice. Bro, what changes, what can we expect in the future from DLF Malls?
Charu, we are in the process of high growth. And so we have already got around 5 million square feet of space. We are expanding it. We are sort of constructing 3 as we speak, 1 in Goa, 2 plazas here in Delhi for our residences. And then we also have very large ambitions with Mall of India, Gurgaon probably, and then, we are expanding Vasant Kunj. So there's a lot of growth that one is looking at, and this is, as a time goes by, is only going to get better, because we see in Delhi NCR a very clear market to grow, and there is a need for growth, and the consumption is ready to be, really catered to.
That's really nice. Before we close, Pushpa, we would love to have a rapid chat with you. And I will not give you time to think about these questions. You will have to answer them like in seconds. So my first question is, tell me, are you a reader, or do you prefer to watch Netflix or maybe digital space? Netflix. Which is your favorite Netflix movie or the show that you love, and why?
Well, I watch quite a bit of series. The latest that I watched was this thing called Kathal. I thought it was quite quirky and nice, and the content is getting really good, be it Netflix or Amazon or whatever. And there was another one that I watched of Manoj Bajpayee, which is about, it was in Disney Hotstar. I forget the name, but he is very good. So I see a lot of good talent coming up and good stories. Yeah.
So which is your favorite retailer or the brand that you admire a lot?
I must say that I'm very constantly impressed with how Zara reinvents itself every once in a while and is able to stay ahead in the fashion space always, and their quality is improved. If you look at their merchandise mix, they're always ahead of the game. That's something that really impresses me. But otherwise, I would like to say that there are enough and more brands now to catch your imagination in every sphere. So if, say, an Hermes impresses you with its sheer visual merchandising and display, Louis Vuitton impresses you for other, every brand impresses you for certain different characteristic it brings to the table now, because each brand is sort of pushing to be the best, and I think, as I said, we live in interesting times where brands are trying to evolve and become even better, and design is become the adage. So for us in the malls business, we lay a lot of emphasis on design, because what do you get? Retail therapy is all about all the 5 sensories to be alive, right? So you come into a space and you get wowed by that space, by the material used, by the lighting, and you automatically then gravitate towards a feel-good sense, and hence you're therapeutic and you go ahead and shop. So I think malls, be it malls or be it brands, they're paying a lot of attention on designs. And so I would say some of these designs are impressing me a lot, and product design. So today, as you know, people are coming out of NID and coming up with such interesting product design type. So even the Made in India brands, they are highly evolved.
So you are running malls over here in India. So where do you shop from? Online or offline?
Shop offline.
Not online at all?
Sometimes online, definitely. I in fact like some things off the Instagram.
So people know that you are running the malls here in India, but what else do you do? What is your favorite pastime? What do you prefer to do in your free time?
I love traveling. I think travel keeps me evolved as a person, and there are always interesting people that you meet, and I love travel.
My last question to you is, one thing that you want people to learn from you as a professional?
I think to be a people person is a very important skill, and I hope I have imbibed that enough, and I also talk about it a lot. The second is be a person who's very open to ideas, and never allow your position to fill your head.
Very nice learnings. I mean, I hope you also enjoyed the way we enjoyed this conversation. We learned a lot, many things. Digitization is the future. You have to be humble. You have to stay humble and be a people's person. So these are my key takeaways from this discussion today. So these were the 3 learnings for me from this discussion. We'll be back with another retailer next week. Till then, see you. Bye-bye.